Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, and we are pleased to be joined by Kobe Lambeth, of course, my teammate on grid, as well as the podium finish. Kobe, this is going to be fun because it's Rolex week. It's always exciting to kick off. This is kind of the kickoff to the year in motorsports. Yes, we've had Formula E. Yes, Supercross has started, and yes, we had the Chili Bowl a few weeks ago. But this is, I think, one of the big. It kicks off really our year because, it's because of course and that also leads into NASCAR and then of course IndyCar and F1 in a few months.
Yeah, for sure, Casey. Always really excited whenever the Rolex 24 comes around. It's like a big all-star race at the beginning of the year to kick everything off. As you've been saying, you have stars of sports cars, factory drivers from obviously IMSA, the World Endurance Championship, European Le Mans Series, GT World Challenge Europe, GT World Challenge America, all these different sports car series. Then you also have the stars from NASCAR, IndyCar. Unfortunately, nobody from Formula E. It's a race in Saudi Arabia this weekend, and a lot of other great racing series from around the world. It's always really exciting every single year. And we always like to look at all the driver lineups, and each year we can always say these lineups keep getting stronger and stronger and way faster. It's just really stunning to see some of these driver lineups we have throughout the field, from GTP at the top all the way down to GTD at the very bottom.
Yeah, for sure, and it's going to be a jam-packed year for this series. Of course, introducing the new GTP car, effectively replacing the DPI as we enter into a really new era of sports car racing for the top class. Of course, more cars are going to be in it. Of course, the two BMWs from Rahal are going to be in that top class. Penske will have a couple cars in there as well, as that kind of they start their return to sports car racing under the Porsche brand. Of course, we'll get to more of that in a moment. Of course, we got Cadillac and Acura as well. And if you watched qualifying yesterday, which if you didn't, what's going on with you? But Tom Bloomquist, what a lap he put up, and put the Meyershank Acura number 60 on the pole for the Rolex 24 at Daytona on beginning on Saturday.
Yeah, Casey, that was quite an impressive lap by Tom Blomqvist. What went in the pole for the defending Rolex 24 champions Meyershank Racing in that number 60 Acura ARX06 LMDH with a lap time of 1 minute 34.031, and that was only a few tenths off of what the DPI all-time record is. And just to think, this is the very early days of development for the new LMDH cars in the GTP category. And typically at the beginning of the development cycle, the cars, they're at a certain pace, and then as time goes on and they develop these cars, they're going to get much faster over time. So it would not surprise me if we see the DPI record that was set fall in 2024. It's a really exciting time to be in sports car racing, and looking across the board from all the practice sessions and qualifying at the Roar. Really seems like that Acura is really flexing the muscles with the speed. Cadillac, they're really sparking a lot on the banking, so that's something they'll probably have to work out over time. And it seems like the manufacturer that's really trying to catch up to the other GTP cars in this category, the BMWs, and Porsche's kind of like in the middle, in my opinion. And throughout the course of 24 hours, the thing that's going to be really important is reliability. These GTP cars, they're gonna have quite a time, dealing with the new hybrid system, all the electronics. This is all new for them, so it's not necessarily going to be the fastest team that ends up winning the Rolex 24, but the one who can stay on the track the longest and get a hold of their reliability. There's so many unknowns heading into this race.
And that's what Ricky Taylor told me when we talked last week. There's so much unpredictability from drivers I've talked to, throughout the last few weeks. And if you want to go see all of them, you can go on my channel and watch them all. What we've kind of talked about with what I've kind of heard is the GTP class is probably the most unpredictable class out of the five, and we're going to talk about the other four in not too long.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Ricky Taylor, because some interesting news come out from Ricky today, which actually goes into something we talked about I believe it was the very first episode of Grit the Night of 2023 when we found out that Wayne Taylor Racing was going to be joining forces with Andretti Autosport to compete in IMSA together. We asked the question: do we think this could open up opportunities for Wayne Taylor Racing drivers with Andretti Autosport? And today we got our answer from Marshall Pruitt at Racer.com when it was announced that Ricky Taylor is going to be doing some testing with Andretti Autosport's IndyCar program for a long time now. A lot of people said if they, out of all the drivers who have never competed in the Indianapolis 500, who would you like to see in there? And towards the top of the list, it's been Ricky Taylor. I don't know where this IndyCar test is going to go with Ricky, but it's certainly really exciting for him hearing that he's going to be testing with Andretti Autosport this year.
Yeah, it is going to be exciting. Of course, Andretti, of course, Wayne Taylor Racing and Andretti are going to be partnered up. So really good chat, really good time talking with Ricky. And if you want to go see that interview, go check it out. And also thanks to my friends at CoForce for helping me out and with that one. Okay, well let's get to the other class. Well, you know what? We'll save the overall winner pick for last. Well, let's talk about the other four classes, and then we'll come back to GTP and pick the overall winner. So let's save the best for last. Let's go to LMP2. A lot of cars in this class, 10 cars in this class. Of course, Rick Ware Racing will be in. Of course, they were in the sprint races last year in GTD. They're entering an LMP2 car in there. Of course, Devlin DeFrancesco and Pietro Fittipaldi and Austin Cindric will be part of that class, a part of that ride in the 51. Actually, they start sixth on the board. But I think the big story is in the pole winning car, of course, the 52, PR1 Matheson. They have a couple new drivers this year. Two of them actually went over to the TDS team. And talking with Ben Keating a few weeks ago, he made it very clear he wants to win. Obviously, he wants to win the Rolex 24. He wants to beat that 11 car too, because of course two of his former teammates are on there. Of course, with Mikkel Jensen and Scott Huffaker.
Yeah. I was actually really shocked when we learned the news about these driver lineups that Ben Keating would no longer be racing with Mikkel Jensen and Scott Huffaker. And during their time together, they found a lot of success. I thought it was the perfect driver pairing, but sometimes business happens in motorsports and things change. Now Stephen Thomas is going to be with Mikkel Jensen, Scott Huffaker, and also IndyCar driver Rinus VeeKay is going to be racing for TDS. I think Ben Keating's going to have a really good chance to beat them. I think that 52 and the 11, they're going to be really, really strong in the LMP2 category. There's also some other strong LMP2 cars as well. And one car that I'm really keeping an eye on is the number 8 Orca from Tower Motorsport. You got the two Team Penske IndyCar stars in that lineup. Scott McLaughlin and Joseph Newgarden, and also have Chip Ganassi Racing development driver in the Indy Next Series, Kiffin Simpson, and also gentleman driver John Ferrano in that car as well. I think that would be like the entry that I'm going to really be keeping an eye on besides the number 11 and the number 52. And if you watch qualifying on Sunday, unfortunately, the number 8 had a crash. John Ferrano, the gentleman driver, ended up crashing the car, causing some heavy damage to it. An unfortunate setback, but with the race happening a few days away, I'm sure Tower Motorsport's going to be able to bounce back from that and be ready to go because they have quite an impressive driver lineup.
Who do you think takes LMP2?
Well, my pick for LMP2, I was going with the number 8 of Tower Motorsport.
Okay, I'm going to take the 52 because I think there's it's always good. I mean, Ben Keating knows how to win this race. He's won a couple of Rolexes before. I think the 52 is going to be really, really strong this year, and we'll have a new winner in LMP2. Of course, the Dragon Speed team won it last year. They're not in the LMP2 class this year, so a brand new winner. We'll see what happens next. But I think that 52. But always, this is a 24-hour race, so you never know what could happen. It's a 24 hours of survival. But I think that Tower Motorsports class. The Tower Motorsports team is going to be tough to beat with all those IndyCar drivers on there. All right, let's go to LMP3 now. 9 cars in this class. Of course, the Sean Creech Motorsport team, Dr. Lance Wilsey, Joel Barbosa, and of course some others are on there as well. And they really performed. They took the pole in LMP3. But who are you keeping your eye on in that class?
Well, Casey, the one team that I'm always watching in this class It certainly well, actually, two teams I'm going to keep an eye on. Number one is Andretti Autosport, and then number two is going to be Raleigh Motorsports. I think those are the teams that are going to be one of the favorites to win the LMP3 category. Andretti Autosport going to be running the Michelin Endurance Cup races this year. In LMP3, I think they have one of the strongest driver line, with Jared Andretti, Gabby Chavez, Dakota Dickerson, and Rasmus Lin. I think that's going to be a very impressive driver lineup for this year's Rolex 24, and then Raleigh as well, with Gar Robinson, Felipe Fraga, Josh Burden, and Glenn Van Burlo. I think if I had to pick which LMP3 teams are going to be the favorites, it certainly has to be Andretti or Riley.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I think another team to keep your eye on is that 33 of Sean Creech Motorsports. Of course, as I mentioned, they've got a lot of veterans on that team, but they've got a lot of young kids on that team as well. I mean, Joao Barbosa is probably one of the most recognizable names in IMSA competition. Of course, all those years with the Mustang sampling Cadillac. Of course, and speaking of that team, of course, that was ran by JDC Miller Motorsports. They're actually in LMP3 this year. They're still waiting on their car later this year. I actually just talked with the team a few weeks ago, and of course they're actually going to be running. They're going to be running as part of the Porsche program. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But yeah, JDC Miller Motorsports will be on that team. Mason Filippi, if you remember him from his couple of NASCAR starts last year in the Truck Series and in the Xfinity Series. And of course, and then you got Performance Tech Motorsports as well with the 38. So this is I think an underrated class in my opinion. But Kobe, who do you think takes it?
Oh boy, I'm weighing back and forth between Riley and Andretti, but if I had to make a pick, I'm going with the number 36 from Andretti Autosport.
You know what? I think the toughest team is going to be that 74 with the Riley Motorsports team. I think Gar Robinson and Felipe Fraga and those guys have really just performed so well over the years. I think the 74 is going to be tough to beat, tough to beat in this race. So should be interesting for sure. All right, let's go on to GTD Pro. Of course, 9 cars in this race. Of course, which a bunch of pro drivers as well. So this is going to be there. The 79 WeatherTech Racing Mercedes took the pole for this one. Of course, you got the Heart of Racing team with Ross Gunn and Riberas and all them. So it'll be interesting for sure. You got the 9 Pfaff Motorsports car with Patrick Pile, Lawrence Vantor in that ride. Some of the drivers in there, and then you got the Iron Lynx car, Roman Grosjean, a part of that team. And then of course you got Corvette Racing as well. So this is kind of a new class. Of course, no, you don't have the two BMWs that are in there. Of course, BMW is in that class. Of course, Turner Motorsport will be in there. Bill Oberlin is in that class, so he'll be there as well as John Edwards, who of course many BMW fans will know. Of course, with his years with the Rahal team in the GTLM days, and of course John Edwards was on this podcast not too long ago, so it was great talking with him. Go check that interview out. But who are you keeping your eye on in GTD Pro?
I'm gonna be keeping an eye on the defending GTD Pro Championship winning team, Pfaff Motorsports. As we all know, they have a different driver lineup this year. Matthew Jaminet, Matt Campbell won GTD Pro Champ title with them last year. Both of them have graduated to the GTP class. They're gonna be split running with the Porsche Penske Motorsport program there, and they have an all new driver lineup with Patrick Pile, you mentioned, Klaus Bachler running full time, and Lawrence Van Thor there as the endurance driver. It's gonna be interesting to see if Pfaff Motorsport can be able to find the same amount of success I saw last year with that impressive duo of Jaminet and Campbell, to see if Bachler and Pile can do the exact same. And some other things looking at for the Rolex 24 Risi Competizione, at the very bottom of the GTD Pro class. Last year, they were very strong, led much of the race. But, this year they're going to be entering that brand new Ferrari 296 GT3 car. And a lot of the times when you bring new cars to events like this, you typically see some growing pains and all of that. And it's interesting to see how Risi's going to be able to perform with this new Ferrari. They got the exact same driver lineup that they have with Alessandro Perguidi, James Collado, Daniel Serra, and Davide Rigon. so they have the drivers to get it done. And that's just going to see if they're going to be able to go out and win the GTD Pro in this car's debut, and all across the board. There's some really great driver lineups across GTD Pro. The pole winner Cooper McNeil and Danny Hunkadea, Jules Gunan, Mauro Engel, who actually qualified the car. That's going to be a very strong driver lineup. And the last thing I'm going to mention, the car qualified fifth, a joint effort between TGM and TF Sport, the number 64. I found it very interesting that they entered the pro class because they have two bronze and two silver drivers between Ted Giovannis, Hugh Plum, Matt Plum, and Owen Trinkler. And it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to execute their strategy to try to get the best possible result in what's supposed to be the all pro class.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that kind of what that lineup is. You gotta always watch out for Corvette racing. There's only one of them this year. That's really strange because for the past few years there's always been two Corvettes. There's only going to be one, of course, split with the WEC class. So and then we have of course you got the Heart of Racing team. Obviously they want to prove something, and of course you got don't forget about that Vassar Sullivan Lexus. Of course, that team really turned it on last year. As well. Of course, Jack Hawksworth, Ben Barnicoat, and Mike Conway is going to be part of that. Of course, spent many years driving with Action Express. So, who do you think takes GTD Pro?
Oh, that's a good question, Casey. If I had to predict who'd win GTD Pro, I'm gonna actually go with the pole winners, WeatherTech Racing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be tough to beat, but for that, I think I'm gonna take the WeatherTech team as well. I think that team is solid. I know that team had some issues last year in this race, but I think they're gonna come back strong in 2023. So that'll be fun. All right, let's the largest class in the category, of course, that is GTD. There are 18 of them. So it's going to be very interesting to see. You got Vassar Sullivan, Paul Miller Racing, Turner Motorsport is in there. Wright Motorsports, of course, that's a team that won it last year with Jan Halen and Ryan Hardwick and Robichon and all them. You look at, of course, of course, there's two Wright Motorsports cars this year. You got the 77 team, and then you got the, and of course, you got the 16, of course, both of them running Porsches. And then you got the Inception Racing team as well. They qualified sixth in the McLaren. So that's gonna be one to watch. But the top three spots, Mercedes takes them. Mercedes has those top three spots. But who are you keeping your eye on in this big class?
Yeah, and going back to GTD Pro for a second, Mercedes on pole, then Mercedes sweeps the entire podium, from qualifying with Winter Racing, Sun Energy won it, and Team Kaufthorpe Motorsports. Really impressive run by Mercedes in qualifying, and looking down the order, GTD Pro. I mean, the regular GTD class. There's just so many different teams that can win. It's almost going to be impossible to pick a correct winner for GTD with all the manufacturer, all the different teams, the strong driver lineups that they have. And one of the teams that I'm going to be keeping an eye on is the Lamborghini that qualified 15, which is the Iron Dames, the all-female team of Rahel Frey, Sarah Bovey, Michelle Gotton, and Dorian Penn. And that Iron Dames has been one of the most impressive all-female teams in the world. And last year they won their class in the 24 hours of Spa, and they're also running the European Le Mans Series and the FIA World Endurance Championship as well. And this is actually the IMSA debut for the Iron Dames. I'm very interested to see how they're going to get along under the IMSA American racing rules. I know this car is completely different than what all these drivers are driven. They're going to be in a Lamborghini. We're traditionally used to seeing them drive a Ferrari in either GT3 spec or the GTE platform. And I know overseas are going to be switching to Porsche, but over here in IMSA this year for the endurance races, they're going to be in the Lamborghini. So definitely going to keep an eye on the Iron Dames to see if they can try to get into the top 10 during the race, or even better.
Yeah, I think the Windward Racing team is on the pole. That team had terrible luck last season, gotten a lot of tough crashes as well early on in the season. So we'll see what the 57 team can do. And remember, They won in their first start back in 2021 as a race team. They won the Rolex 24, and of course last year it was the 16 team that took it this year. But who do you think takes GTD?
Oh wow, that's a really tough question, Casey. Going down the list, I'm probably gonna have to pick a team out of a hat here, because it's just so competitive. But I'm gonna go with the number one Paul Miller Racing BMW. Got Brian Sellers, Madison Snowbag. Also got Corey Lewis back with the team, and also Maxine Martin as well, the BMW factory driver. I think that's a really good driver lineup.
Yeah, it is going to be tough there. But you know what? I'm going to take the Vassar Sullivan the Lexus team. The of course the number 12 team, Aaron Telitz, Frankie Montecalvo, Parker Thompson, who will be the endurance driver for that team this year, and then of course Kyle Kirkwood from who will be competing for Andretti Autosport in the NTT IndyCar Series. I think that team's really got a lot to prove. Of course, they really showed well, as I talked about, the Vassar Sullivan team did at Petit Le Mans last season. So I think this is a big year for the Vassar Sullivan team. So possibly maybe talking to Kyle Kirkwood and Parker Thompson this week. So obviously stay tuned to that. But I think Vassar Sullivan takes it in that class. All right, let's go up to GTP. I told you we'd save the best for last. We got two Acuras, a couple Porsches, 3 Cadillacs, and 2 BMWs to pick from. Who are you keeping your eye on besides everybody?
I said, if we're picking who we're going to win, I'm giving my pick a winner away really early. I think it's going to be an Acura, but I don't think it's going to be that Acura that won last year and this year's. But when I think it's going to be the number 10, Ricky Taylor, Philippe Albuquerque, Louis Delatraz, and Brendan Hartley getting the job done. And overall, as I've been saying, we're going to be paying close attention to the reliability. With the new electronics and the hybrid system, how is this going to work? If all these GTP cars have issues, could we potentially see an LMP2 car win overall? I don't think that's going to happen, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. I remember during the LMP1 days, we thought an LMP2 was going to win overall when all the Toyotas had issues. And LMP2 ended up getting on the podium though. So I guess an LMP2 podium in this year's 24 is probably a lot more likely than an LMP2 victory overall.
Yeah, I think the Acuras are going to be strong, and they proved it the other day with the 60 and the 10. But I'm going to go Cadillac here. I'm going to go with a team that needs to really that needs a shot in the arm, and that is, of course, Action Express Racing. They did not win at all in 2022. Only one car this year for the endurance races. Remember they had 2 last year with the 31 and of course the 48 Ally Cadillac as well. But I think the 31 takes it this year. Of course, Alexander Sims is a part of that team this year as well, so he'll be the co-driver with Pipo Derani. And then, of course, Jack Aiken. I'm sure F1 fans would obviously know who that is. Of course, he spent many years as the reserve driver for Williams. So, of course, we got a chance to talk with Jack this few weeks ago. Really talented kid, a great kid to talk to. I think he'll do well. This is his first Rolex, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. I know he's got tons of sports car experience, but not anything quite like this, Kobe.
Yeah, that's for sure. Really excited to see what Jack Aiken's gonna be doing with that number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac VLMDH car this year. Running the endurance race is one of the biggest opportunities he's had in his career so far. Besides, getting to race in F1 with Williams, and you're right, Action Express really does need a major shot in the arm. Also, but before 2022, Action Express was, one of the top teams in top level prototype racing in North America. Remember the one that title there, Pippo Durrani and Felipe Nasr, when there was a part of that driver lineup. And Action Express has been, one of the gold standard for top flight prototype racing. But for some reason in 2022, it seems like they like fell off a mountain. And they went through some driver lineup changes. First you start off with Pippo Durrani and Tristan Nunez, and then Tristan got dropped from the driver lineup and brought in Olivier Pla. But that still didn't fix things at all. And now now they brought in another co-driver for Pippa to run. As you mentioned, Alexander Sims. Going to be really interesting to see what the duo of Durrani and Sims are able to do throughout the course of the season. Also, Aiken for all the endurance races. I think this should be a very important year for Action Express. Try to be like 2022. It was just an unfortunate year. We see top teams sometimes go through down years and all of that, and they're gonna try to go out and win this Rolex 24 and bounce back in a major way to show everybody that 2022 just an outlier. 2023 we're gonna look like the Action Express that you all know and love.
Yep. All right. That's going to do it for the the Rolex 24 pre-race show. And of course, you get a chance to. We'll talk more about this on. Kind of tell us about. Of course, Grid will have a pre-race show as well.
Yeah. Be sure to head over to the Grid Network YouTube channel this Saturday at noon Eastern. We're going to be doing our annual Rolex 24 pre-race show, and then on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, join us for Grid Live wrap up. We're gonna Casey's gonna be on for both shows, and we're gonna be recapping all the action throughout 24 hours in this year's Rolex 24 at Daytona, and also we'll be recapping the two Formula E races in dear Saudi Arabia as well that's happening this weekend. So a lot of racing action to keep up on both sides of the Atlantic.
Yeah, it should be some fun stuff there. Of course, we got Formula E as well this weekend. So lots of stuff. And Grid Network's just getting going because, of course, as the NASCAR season kind of rolls along, that of course starts next week with the LA Clash. Got a ton of stuff coming with that in the next few weeks, and then of course IndyCar and F1 later on in the year. So stay tuned to this channel, and also stay tuned to Grid Network for all of your motorsports updates. Kobe, thank you so much for coming on. We'll definitely be talking very soon, and see you this weekend on Grid.